everyone. Welcome to Work Love Wednesday. Daisy and Smelter here for Work Love Wednesday. It is time for Work Love Wednesday. Hi, Facebook. I'm late. Hi, Instagram. What's up? It's Wednesday. It's Work Love Wednesday. And I am 10 minutes late. My gosh. Tells you what happens when you have to swap locations. Like, so used to doing this at home and just hopping on, and that is not what happens here, because lighting sucks in my office, and I had this beautiful vision of doing this in my office. I'm now out in the waiting room lobby area, right by the only window that we have in this office, and this is natural lighting. Like, if you want to talk about video, if you're thinking about doing video and you're wondering how to make amazing lighting, get in front of a window, because it makes all the difference. So today I want to talk about, for Work Love Wednesday, this big buzzworthy topic of stress, because I think stress is something that never gets old, because once again, it's something that we don't have a solution to, much like I was just thinking about this, like employee engagement. So, I'm a HR practitioner at heart, and being an HR practitioner at heart, I'm always concerned about what's happening in the workplaces and how do we create more engaging workplaces. But employee engagement has become a buzzword because, once again, we don't have the solution for it yet. And that's the same thing with stress. I think, like, everyone's talking about stress. We hear a lot about stress management. It's still one of the most requested kind of corporate training, wellness kind of pieces, because we don't have the answers yet. And I think the reason why we don't have the answers, which is a lot of what I'm slowly kind of unpacking in a bunch of different areas, is it's because we're all unique individuals. We're all people who have unique set of needs. We're not built the same. Even in our families, which we sometimes make the assumption that, especially when we give birth to children, that we kind of create these mini-me's, and they might look fairly similar to us, but they're very, very different. My daughters, despite how much they may look like me or laugh like me or act like me, they are their individual person, and I have to always kind of remind myself that the same challenges and struggles that I'm having is not the same challenges and struggles they're going to have. It's also the way that I perceive the world is not the same way they're going to perceive the world. And so how they're taking things in and processing them, completely different. And so I think we underestimate that. So even in that wonderful kind of relationship, that beautiful kind of miracle that happens, we think that we know what's best, but we're even forgetting the individuality, the uniqueness that exists there as well. And so I think when it comes to stress, I think we're just severely underestimating that uniqueness and the individual needs. And I think that we put a lot of things out there that essentially push us to believe that those tactics should work for us. And when they don't, we either push harder or we just give up altogether, and then we're right back to the initial problem, which is high levels of stress and no way to release it. Or we just train ourselves, or shouldn't even train ourselves, but make ourselves believe that we're one of those people that just thrives off of stress and needs all that stress. So I guess number one, let me just say that a healthy level of stress is necessary. Whether you're talking about physical stress, so when you're going to the gym, I like to lift weights, and I just got back lifting yesterday, and I'm experiencing that wonderful aftermath of the stress on my body today from some weighted back squats. But whether it's going to the gym and feeling that soreness, that stress that we put on our body, that recovery and that healing that happens internally is necessary, and it's needed, and it's good for us. Same thing like in the workplace. I think if we eliminated all stress, it would not be good. That's not what I meant to say. It would not be, it wouldn't create the workplaces that we're striving for. So I think it's really easy to say if we get rid of stress that the workplace would be better. I think it's more so about bringing the balance and having the right amounts. I think there needs to be some pressure and some tension to put on ourselves to get us to perform and really push ourselves and get out of the box. You know, when we get to a place of comfortable, which is if we eliminate all stress, we'd be comfortable all the time. Nobody grows, nobody evolves. We're just kind of in the state of being with no real kind of reason to have a drive. And so stress is needed. It's not, you know, the goal is not to eliminate it all. It's a matter of finding a balance. And, you know, so we hear stress management. How do I manage my stress? So this past week, and this has been something that has been really big on my wellness journey in 2019. So this really became my focus in January. I had a change in kind of my fitness routine. The trainer I was working with pursued some hefty kind of life goals and dreams, which, you know, doing the work that I do, couldn't only be supportive and take it as a sign from the universe that something else was coming down my pathway. And it was. You know, starting in January, I started working with and doing more work around this whole concept of stress and what stress was doing to my body and the excess amount of stress. And so when I talk about stress, not only just professional stress, but the physical stress from working with the trainer and going to the gym, the emotional stress of not working on myself for 30 plus years and all of that crap that was built up in my body and has taken a toll as me questioning my self-worth. That is stress that I was adding on top of just the professional tasks to get done, on top of the roles of being a wife and a mom, and which I say very quickly, but we all know, I mean, to have a really great marriage, it takes work, and it takes vulnerability. Same thing with being a parent. Gosh, I sit now and think back about how having the baby and feeding them and changing their diaper and just keeping them alive was probably the easiest task. Now helping them grow and realize their individuality and not try to control too much, but not, you know, that balance of structure. It's really hard, and trying to do what's best for your child and navigating when there's so many different variables and taking into account that they are not you. So it's just hard and challenging. And so that's stressful in itself as well. And so I've been on this journey. I've been trying to be very diligent about saying no to projects, limiting how many projects I have at work, spending more time with my children, giving myself permission for self-care. So that's why you've seen the Qigong coming in. That's one of the biggest things that Qigong has been for me, is the self-healing, the emotional purging, helping get those things in order. And then also providing this meditative practice every single day, and being able to see tangible results associated with it. And that was something that I needed. You know, some people have some beautiful meditation practices and they can just kind of zone out. I needed one that felt productive almost instantly, even when I was struggling to quiet my mind. And that practice did that for me, is doing that for me. And so I had these things built in, and then work picked up. So in my world, I have usually about 2 whirlwind seasons where everything's kind of jam-packed into like a 2-month period, and I kind of just run. Um, and I actually did pretty well managing that period. But what happened is actually I was not prepared for the aftermath. So once I get permission to kind of revert back to not running all the time, getting back into life as it was before the whirlwind, I really had a hard time transitioning back to that. And that's what has been happening over the last probably about 2 weeks. I didn't realize that I was struggling with that, but I was. And so I had a lot of things start to creep back in. I was so physically tired and wanting to give myself permission to just be after having a whole month and a half of running, that what happened was, what creeped back in was my doubts about self-worth, a level of overwhelm that was almost kind of paralyzing about the future and the unknown. I felt like I was becoming very disconnected from the present, which when you're disconnected from the present, you're not grounded, which means you can't manifest and make things happen. And so I had these big visions, over the last week and a half, that I would get involved and start doing these projects. And in fact, I pretty much did nothing but binge watch weird TV shows on Netflix and Hulu, which is not, legit. Like, that's stress management too. It has to happen. This was a little excessive, so I'll just put that out there. And what happened was, and this is quite honestly, so the measurement that I've been using for my success has been my weight. That's kind of where I was in my wellness journey. I had tried for the last 3 years, whether it was, counting calories, all the fad kind of diet things. And even though I physically felt better, the weight was going higher. And it really concerned me. And so the only rock that was left unturned was talking about what stress does to the body and what happens when your body's in such a high level of stress, and its inability to kind of heal and repair. And so in the last 2 weeks, so I went and traveled for a month and a half, pretty much ate whatever I wanted, had some slip-ups. For those of you that know that I am gluten-free because I have a gluten sensitivity. I'm not celiac, but I have a gluten sensitivity, so I typically avoid it. But I slipped up in California. I had a churro. Those gosh darn churros, they're so good. If you don't know what a churro is, it's like a long, skinny donut that's rolled in cinnamon sugar. It's pretty awesome. And these pretzels, pretzels. I miss pretzels so much. Anyways, I digress. But I came back and actually the number had not changed. A little bit. Maybe like a pound or two, but that's pretty normal. In the last 2 weeks, it had fluctuated close to up to 10 pounds that now I'm undoing. And the eating habits, I probably have been eating a little more ice cream than normal, but nothing really too drastically different, except for the level of emotional stress that definitely has come back. So much so that it's so high that I think that's why I lifted yesterday. And I actually ran earlier this week. So I'm doing some physical kind of releases because that stress the tension was just so high that I needed something more. On top of that, doing my Qigong practice has been pretty diligent this week. And now the numbers have shifted. I'm about 5 pounds back down the other way. And this isn't about weight loss, but for me, that was the measurement tool that I needed to see that it was going in the right direction. I also needed to not let the number be a trigger for emotional stress, because it's a great measurement tool. However, when weight is your measurement tool, weight for many of us, a lot of women, it holds some vulnerability in it. That number is not a number that we like to talk about publicly, and it has some shame associated with it. But for my health journey, it was never about weight loss. It was about getting healthy. But weight does play a component in that, and we can't just live our lives getting thicker. And so for me, for the first time, weight was where I was focusing my energy on. And so I say all this. I go on this rant, this weekly, because we come together, this whole concept of Work Love Wednesdays is how do we stay connected to doing what we love and loving what we do in every capacity, because I think that's essentially balance. And so I say this because I think we have to have a real conversation with ourselves about stress and what that looks like for us and what it is doing to us. If you are experiencing high levels of stress and it's taking a toll on your family, your personal lives, you're feeling disconnected from that aspect, that is a symptom that it's not balanced. If you're somebody who doesn't like to have friends or associate with people, you're going to the gym, you have high stress at work, but you feel pretty good about every aspect, then you're balanced. But I think we need to back up and really truly ask ourselves, even if it's, am I happy? We don't need to convince ourselves that we're doing the right thing when it comes to the amount of stress that we're carrying. When stress isn't balanced, it pumps us up, it adds, so even if you think about people who are really gung-ho going to the gym, they're doing that because it's gotten to a place where they have that balance. That physical stress pumps up those endorphins. It puts you in a place where it's productive and it's adding to your balance. In contrast, and I can tell you that, going to the gym and just killing myself day after day after day actually added more stress to me. It added more stress to me emotionally and mentally. I was really pushing myself and forcing myself to do these things that I thought led to a happier me while missing what was happening in the moment. And as a result, just kind of destroyed my body, even broke down some things emotionally. And I think, even as I think about the first book that I wrote, From Heart to Heart, that has been, almost 2 years now. I think of it as almost like written verbal vomit from being broken and letting things just kind of pour out. And what came out after, I was just too tired to resist anymore. And for me and my journey, that was necessary. To be broken, to be torn down, to have some ugly kind of come into. That was I wouldn't say like the bottom of the lowest of the low, but it was low enough that it got me to start thinking and evaluating differently. So when you're thinking about stress, when you're talking about this topic, be real with yourself. Be real about what stress is doing to you and your life. And honestly, ask yourself if the way that you're living now is the way that you want to live forever. And I think that is the gauge. And then once you say yes or no, if you say no, you'll find what you need to help you regulate that. But you have to be open. And I've seen people who, and I was one of them, meditation, yoga, not for me. I'm somebody who has to have high level of stress to be successful. I took that road for a long time, and now I'm physically paying for it. And now as I start to slowly open the can of the emotional impact that it had, it's almost like opening the floodgates. But it's necessary. And in fact, what I thought I was doing to basically make me a great, exceptional professional, to do the work that I was meant to do and be phenomenal at it, I realized that I actually was limiting myself because my full potential hasn't even been tapped yet. It's just it's hidden under all of this junk that I've got to purge out and get out and restore back to my authentic self, or my pure self, as I said last week or 2 weeks ago, when I had a friend share that with me, and that really resonated. So let's get real and share with me your relationship with stress. What has your journey been like? What do you do to kind of manage your stress? And what's your take when you're asking those questions? You can email me, private message me, you post comments, have a conversation here. On Instagram, if you're watching, I know the connection has been going in and out. So the full video is posted on Facebook at Sam Smelter. You can find that page and watch the entire video. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday, doing what you love and loving what you do. And if you're watching this later, because I know we've had a couple people hopping on live, but if you come back later today because it worked better for you, make sure you say hi in the comments so I can see that you are watching. It's always nice to see friendly faces say hello, because I'm talking to a video of myself. So have a great day, and I will talk to you later.